Hello, it's me again. I'm back. Today I want to talk about someone made this comment just recently, and I thought it's something I've actually wanted to talk about for a while, and that was around the relationship between kind of maybe too much surrender, too much fixation in the feminine side of spirituality, right? And it's a good point because I went through this phase. We start off from a very masculine place in the mind of, I need to control my life. I need to be in charge. I need to make things go this way. And that doesn't work, right? We start to suffer, and then maybe we have an awakening because of how much we're suffering. And then we shift into the feminine, right? This is what happened for me. So I can just speak from my experience, but I do see it playing out as well. So then in the feminine, it was more too much like, but it's important, right? Because whenever we're fixated in one side, we're going to fixate in the other side until that's how we find balance. So when you have this release from too much of a masculine approach, and this isn't entirely male and female, you can see it in people. Some people have a more feminine approach to life, and it's generally, a female person with more feminine energy, but you get females with very masculine energy, and you get males with more feminine energy, and you get males with more masculine energy. So, we all have these mix and blends of energies, but there is something about male and female where female is more feminine in some, like I know some females where you can just see, wow, they've got a very much more in touch with that side, but we will all still have in different aspects of our life, different areas where we have a more masculine approach and a more feminine approach, so someone might have a more feminine energy overall, but maybe they fixate in the masculine in this area in their life. So that's just another aside on masculine and feminine, because I remember when I first started exploring this, maybe sometimes we get stuck up on what does masculine and feminine mean. So anyways, when we shift from the masculine to the feminine with like a first awakening where it's like, wow, I'm surrendering to life. I'm surrendering to letting things be as they are. I'm surrendering to not needing to control. That can become a little bit too much. Yes. So this is kind of in response to the person that asked in my comment. And I agree with what they said, because I had to realize this in myself, was like, wow, I got really fixated, not fixated, but I had to go into that, right? Too much. And then that's how you realize, right? That feeling that this commenter was saying, that, it feels like there's a space for being a bit more assertive, a space for being a bit more, setting boundaries. If somebody messes with you and is a dick, then you can say, hey, fuck off. That's what anger is, right? Anger is your boundary emotion, to say, hey, don't treat me like that. I respect myself. So self-respect is a good one. It's like, that's why we want to set boundaries, right? And boundaries can be a bit of a confusing word, because it's like we start to realize that there's no boundaries between anything. But at the same time, I like self-respect. I spoke with Michelle Vickers recently on her podcast, and she made this nice point about self-respect rather than boundaries. But boundaries is fine. It's like, it's a useful term. But I liked what she said about self-respect, which was like, that's what we want to kind of get more in touch with. So it's like, if someone is kind of not honoring that you want to respect yourself, and they're crossing boundaries, then yes, there is a space for a healthy response, and it might be a more masculine response to be like, no, I don't need to take your shit, basically. And it can start to feel very natural, right? But the reason we might fixate in this is because we'll have kind of things, shadow work, where we learn to repress anger, because of conditioning, childhood experiences. Maybe we were told by authority figures that, hey, you're not allowed to question my judgment. And then they cross a boundary and we get angry, and you're helpless because you're a little kid. So then we learn that it's not safe for me to express my anger. It's not safe for me to kind of be assertive or something. I had to do a lot of work around this, and I feel like I'm still probably finding the perfect balance, if there is such a thing. But, the integration is endless, which is beautiful. It's beautiful because the mind's always looking for the end point. And there's an end point in suffering maybe, but in integration, not so much. And so I've had to do a lot of work around this. I had a lot of repression of anger. Like, you always, if you get triggered by somebody else, it's either this is a good point. Matt Garrett said it once, and I loved it. Either you're triggered by them or you really admire them, right? Either one, they're expressing something that you're not allowing yourself to express, right? So if you really admire someone's ability to be assertive, to be kind of whatever, more sure in their expression, more boundary setting, whatever, or to the other side, right? If you, because there is a fixation in the masculine as well, right? A bigger one for people that aren't on the wake. That's more for people that aren't on the awakening path, though, right? The living from the ego is a very masculine energy. For me, it feels like, oh, I'm separate, I'm individual, I need to fix the world, I need to fix everybody around me. But yeah, if you're, I forgot what I was going to say now because I started being silly. But, and I've got it back. So if you are admiring somebody's expression, in whichever sense, right? But like really admiring it, or you're really kind of triggered by it. It's funny. It can be either one, and it's the same thing that it's pointing to. Like if you're really triggered by the way somebody expresses and talks in the world, or you're really like, wow, I wish I was like that person. It's because you are, but you've got stuff that's making you repress it, right? So there's different modalities that we can use to help us do this work. We can, explore whatever. I've explored lots of things, and all of them I found helpful, like meditation, inquiry, probably been the most helpful. But then recently exploring energy healing has been incredible for helping to pick apart things that have been energetically stored in my system from childhood stuff and be like, wow, that's accurate. Like an energy healer would just say, did this happen to you at this age? Because I can feel it energetically. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So all of these modalities can be helpful, but it's really just a willingness to keep on, so like don't fixate on any modality. Try whatever you want to, right? Again, that's the beautiful thing. There's nothing that you can't try. It just becomes like, cool, I'll try that or I won't try that. Don't turn it into a problem. But just feel into, right, what is it that the way somebody expresses that you either really like it or you're triggered by it, and that can show you where you can kind of allow yourself to express more in that area. And it will feel weird at first, right? You'll feel the things that were stopping you from doing that, right? So again, Matt Garrett was really helpful for me to kind of step more out of the feminine fixation and into a healthier balance between masculine and feminine. So then maybe you go into a little bit more of a masculine approach for a while, and that's fine. You're always going to seesaw when there's a fixation, right? You're always going to go there, but it becomes smaller, right? So at first the fixations are really big, and then it's like this, and then it's like that, and then I don't know what happens after that. Maybe here it disappears, and I don't know. I'm just being silly. So yeah, the fixation, like maybe you fixate in the masculine a little bit more for a bit, and then you come into a healthier kind of balance of the two, and you realize that you have both masculine and feminine, and that you can, and maybe I don't know how this works, right, with the whole male-female thing. Maybe, yeah, it feels like a female would have, I think we all have a balance of both, but just the way you express, or, that's why we get together as well, because that balances out nicely as well when you're in a relationship, and there's a healthy masculine and feminine within both. And then I think you can explore the healthy masculine and feminine in the relationship as well. Who knows? Maybe I'll start to explore that more in the future. Anyways, yeah, so like Matt Garrett was really helpful for me in allowing, because this is why it was helpful. The point that I was just making was I was seeing the way he was expressing in the world, and I'd followed his content for a while around non-duality and awakening, and then he was starting to get into other stuff. But, it was triggering me, but I knew that he was onto something, and it was like, Matt's just really expressing all parts of himself now, and that is triggering me because there's parts of myself that I'm not expressing. And then that realization, I think I got that from him as well, where he was like, if there's something that somebody that you really admire or that you're really triggered by, look in yourself. Are you not allowing that to pass through you? Are you not allowing that part of yourself to express? And I started to realize this in myself, and I was like, oh, wow. So that's been like the more later work, was like more around expression and integration in the world, and realizing how much I wasn't allowing myself to express how I wanted to. And yeah, have a more kind of healthy masculinity as well, because I did fixate in the feminine. And it felt really good. It felt really good to be, hey, I'm allowed to set a boundary and it's interesting. Then all of this stuff is also linked to like parent relationships as well. Like I found lots of things shifting energetically once I got more healthy relationships with my parents on both fronts, right? For a while, I was being more vulnerable and open, so probably more feminine, like because, in a lot of these relationships, we're very closed off and distant. So that's kind of important. But then also there was some things where I had to set a little bit more, again, more of a self-respect in that, oh, okay, wow, the way this relationship is going doesn't feel like it's respecting a part of myself. So I just need to put that first. And it's all healthy, right? And it's like probably healthy for the parent or whatever. It felt energetically right. But all of these things, it was like, oh, wow, there was like a fixation again out of the masculine where I was like, oh, I have to be the vulnerable one. I have to be the vulnerable one in this relationship because the other person won't be. And then it was like, wait, this is just not a good energetic balance. Like I'm just constantly giving too much and I'm not it's just not healthy. And then it was like, oh yeah, I can set a boundary here without being guilty. That's the main thing. It's like, wow, I can actually respect what I want. I can respect that. And I feel this ties into this whole conversation around masculine and feminine and fixation, is that realizing in all these different areas of our life, are we fixating in one versus the other? Again, for me, it was more fixation in the feminine. Maybe that's just how I'm wired. But I think on the spiritual path, it's like, yeah, it depends though. Like if you look at Zen and Vipassana, that's a very masculine approach to spirituality. So, it's not generic to all of spirituality, but yeah, there can be. But there's a lot of good people talking quite nicely now on the healthy balance between masculine and feminine. So, Matt Garrett's one. I mean, he talks about a lot of stuff that might be triggering for people, but he's a very good guy, and that I know of. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with the rest of this, but yeah, balancing masculine and feminine is important, and there's good teachers out there, but I can't think of the others now. Sasha Cobra says some really cool stuff about like healthy sexuality and a different relationship to sexuality. It's really good points that she makes. I like her Instagram. And who else? I don't know. Those are some of my kind of that, which is helpful for me in kind of establishing this healthier masculine feminine relationship. Yeah, cool. I hope that resonates.